this is my costume. I'm going to be setting it down while I'm presenting. Thank you. An unrivaled empire. I built a massive, majestic, and marvelous empire. Few people in history have matched my military might. In my time, I built the biggest empire known to man. There were many influences in my early life that helped me to achieve my goals. My parents blessed me with their own ambitions of greatness. My exceptionally exquisite education provided me with a foundation of philosophy and reason. I inherited a military that was strong, loyal, and dedicated. Together, we dominated most of the known world. In the end, I was proud of my empire. I was proud of the empire that I had built in my short lifetime. By the time I was born in 356 BC, my father, King Philip, had already established a large and mighty empire. He had already been married 4 times and would go on to marry 3 more women before his untimely death. My father was in some ways unrivaled. He was strong, proud, and wild. He built a great and loyal empire. My whole family, including me, believed we were descended from the gods. My mother, Olympias, believed she was descended from Achilles. My father and I believed we were descended from Heracles, better known by Roman name of Hercules. My mother, Olympias, was a proud and stubborn woman. My parents were a lot alike in their personalities, but eventually they fell out of love. Many people think that my mother played a part in my father's death. My father did not only think it was important to be strong physically, but also mentally. So he hired a world-famous philosopher, Aristotle, to be my teacher. I received a great education which helped to reinforce the confidence I had from an early age. Early on in my leadership, I was underestimated by many groups. One example of this was the Phoenicians when they allowed us to cross through their borders unchallenged. They did not believe we were a threat. I had over 37,000 soldiers in my army. My troops were tough. Some of them carried 15-foot-long pikes with sharp blades on the end. We were very little armor. The upside of this was we could move and be more agile. The downside was that we were more vulnerable. We were much less armored than the knights of the future. My troops were loyal and dedicated. One unique way my army fought was a technique called the phalanx. Originally created by the Thebans, my father had improved on this method of fighting. The Thebans threw spears and depended on supplies coming from behind. Instead, we armed our troops with 15-foot-long pikes and lined them up in a tightly compacted line of men. This line would surge forward and slaughter all who stood in our way. Many would flee for their lives at sight of our formation. For years and years, we marched through multiple continents. We destroyed everyone who opposed us. Before we could focus on on the other continents, we had to take care of the wanton, writhing, ravenous aliens who were merciless in their relentless attacks on our people. On one of our first, most well-known military campaigns that took place outside of our territory, we went to Tyre and built a land bridge to be able to march across and reach the city. When we put ladders up to climb over the walls, red-hot sand was poured down over us to keep us alive. It didn't work. We fought on, and we won. When we marched into Egypt, we expected an attack, but instead we were welcomed. The people of Egypt celebrated our arrival. As we moved into Persian territory, King Darius knew there had to be a showdown. He still offered me half of his empire if he would turn back, or if I would turn back and leave them alone. I didn't agree, even though my army was outnumbered 5-1. The night before the attack, there was a bad omen, which was a lunar eclipse. My seer advised me that it was only a bad omen for Darius. He must have been right, because King Darius ended up fleeing the next day. My army and I faced many treacherous challenges, such as extreme temperatures and exhaustion. Eventually, they revolted. We were forced to turn back towards home. We had to endure a difficult trek when we traveled back through the sunny, sizzling, sandy Gorodian desert. Less than 1/4 of us survived. Over 60,000 people perished. This was more than we lost in all of our battles. I achieved a lot in my lifetime because of the combination of my upbringing and my fierce dedication. At first, my parents were in love, but eventually they fell out of love. I grew up to be strong, capable, and fierce young man. My teacher, Aristotle, had an enormous impact on the way that I viewed things. On some of my first military campaigns, I was underestimated. My army and I had many challenges, such as when we attacked Tyre and took it over. For years, we conquered and slayed everyone who was in our way. We were not usually welcomed. One of the exceptions was Egypt, which was one of the wealthier countries we conquered. But by the time I died, I ruled the largest empire in the world. My success in both military campaigns and leadership was unrivaled. Thank you. Can anybody guess who I am?
Does anyone want to guess? You can unmute yourself.
Hercules?
Alexander the Great.
Hercules?
William the Conqueror.
Hercules?
No, I was
No,
not.
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the
Yes.
Good job. Way to go. Good job, everybody. Okay. And next.